What is poppin', beautiful people? It is your boy Jesimein. Welcome back to another Division 2 build video. Today I'm showcasing the build that I've been using in my streams lately. You guys have been asking for it nonstop. You guys have been watching me body kids as well as the NPCs. It's probably the tankiest build in Division history. Like, honestly, like just across the board for what it does. It's, in my opinion, the tankiest build without a shield. Easily. I mean, it's technically better than a shield, but we'll get into the details of that. So I know a lot of people have been seeing the upcoming nerfs and stuff. The way I built this is more future proof. There's cheaper ways to build it, but I'll just show you all of it encompassing in this video. So without further ado, let's get it. So to start off, I am using the Sniper Specialist. The only reason I'm using this is for two simple things: for the stability that you get from it, or weapon handling, whatever you want to call it, as well as the headshot damage, because we do lack in damage, so we need to make up for damage in any way, shape, or form that we can. This build was designed strictly around survivability, so any damage is actually invited. You know what I'm saying? We need to have it. So let's start around the heartbeat of the build. It is a Dread Edict. You definitely need to have this weapon. Honestly, for this specific build, I know people like to ask me, is there alternative ways to run it? To run the build the way I designed this, you have to have this weapon. It's just that simple. If you don't have Dread Edict, you don't have the build. It's the heartbeat. Without the heartbeat, the whole body don't work. So Dread Edict, mine does 231.8. I have proficiency 5, not too high, but for those who have higher proficiency, you can obviously make it hit way harder. It is a marksman rifle, so it is going to be based off of range, but we're not going to use it like that. As you guys saw, you can definitely hip fire this, and it's super accurate. I don't know if it's the Dread Edict. I'm not sure if it's SVDs. I haven't really tested it with them, but for some reason, it's decent enough to where you can kind of hip fire it. If hip firing was still what it was, this would be even more broken. But mine has marksman rifle damage. I have a low roll on headshot. I'm going to optimize that. I have 10% damage target out of cover. And full stop. Shooting enemy builds a stack to a cap of 20. So earlier in the intro, I mentioned there's a cheap way to run this. I'll explain that in a second. Headshots grant 2 stacks. Each stack grants 2% weapon damage and 5% headshot damage. So obviously at max stacks you get 40, and obviously you can get up to 100 headshot damage. On reload, clear all stacks and gain 5% of your max armor as temp armor for 10 seconds for each stack removed. So you can see, if you have that full stack of 20, you can get a lot of your armor back. You can do the math on that. That's all your armor. It's basically like a perfect unbreakable every time you do that. And also a great bonus, I love this, especially when you're farming. Headshot kills with the Dread Edict restore all bullets in the magazine. This does not count as a reload. So basically you just get your clip back. It's actually amazing, especially when you're on those streaks and you don't want to sit there and reload and just kind of spray it off. You do enough damage and you can get it. So back to how full stop works. Basically every one of these stacks obviously is going to give you that buff of weapon damage or temp armor. The great thing about it, which is it synergizes well if you get the headshot kills, because then you keep that max stack of 20. But we're kind of using the fact that we can just keep infinitely resetting this 20 by 2 ways. Obviously by shooting, that's the obvious way, and also another way is running the Hive Stinger, because every bleed tick counts as a weapon hit. So basically you can look at it this way: you drop a strap or a Stinger Hive and it hits somebody, that counts as a hit, and every bleed tick is while you're shooting. You can infinitely get stacks. On NPCs you can farm it. If you have like 4 or 5 NPCs ticking at once, that counts as 4 per. So you literally get your stacks in like 2 or 3 seconds and you're at max stacks, which means guess what, 100% bonus armor on a reload every single time, and you can keep chaining it. The cool thing about this is you don't necessarily need the Hive. The Hive just makes it that much stronger and easier, especially when you're farming NPCs, but you really don't need it. All you really need to do is just be hyperly aggressive with this build. Run up on a person or NPC and just hit fire away or ADS away, because you can get enough hits off with the rate of fire to make it comparable. And obviously to complement it, we have the rest of the build, but this is kind of the combo. The 1-2 punch is going to be the Dread Edict stacks with the Hive, and just back and forth every time you get that bonus armor. So going into my secondary, I do run the Mop for 2 reasons. It's a decent shotgun, does a lot of damage, even though mine's not the best, but I get that armor on kill, swap to it real quick, kill an NPC already, get some armor. You know, it's already built into the rest of my set since I'm running system corruption, so it's just good to have on the side. You can run whatever you want as a secondary. I have the skill tier pistol for obvious reasons, just to get that skill tier if I ever need to drop a hive or something, or duration. If I want to increase it by just a little bit, just pop that off and be good. Now going into the build itself. Now I opted for this setup for a very specific reason. It's because I don't have the backpack. My optimized version of this build would have the backpack and an unbreakable chest. But right now, this is the best I can do because it's super hard to get this gear set. And it is a system corruption. Now, like I said, it's to each his own. I mean, the way I have it right here is probably better in some scenarios, but I do want the backpack. But now I'll make another build about that later if I can ever get my hands on it. So starting in the mask, we all know what it is. The catharsis, for obvious reasons. This is our sustain. Taking damage builds a stack of cap of 30. Each stack grants 1% weapon damage. Taking damage at max stats triggers a purge, removing all stacks and status effects, and then dropping a healing cloud, which restores 5% of max armor for 10 seconds to all allies in the cloud. Now, this is cool because we're taking a lot of damage. We have a lot of armor. We have a lot of sustain. So obviously, catharsis is definitely going to be crazy. It's going to be a whole bunch of loops of catharsis, and it's going to confuse people. It's going to irritate them because they're going to see bonus armor pop up, and they're know you're standing in your cloud and getting healed. It's just a crazy loophole of combinations. So it's just something that you guys will fall in love with when you use it. So definitely run catharsis. Going to my backpack, I opted up for the setup. The reason is total armor. I wanted to hit that sub 2 million mark. You don't necessarily need to go overkill like that. If you want to go more damage, you absolutely can. This build can work like that as far as re-rolling. But I just wanted the absolute most tankiest feeling I can possibly get, and it works well in legendary. Like your legendary feels like challenging now. It's actually pretty nuts. But on the setup, you get the total armor, max armor roll. I'm still working on the expertise. I crit chance, armor regen, and crit chance. So as much crit as possible. With marksman rifles, crit does matter a lot more. You know, those are bigger chunks. So definitely something you want to get. And perfectly opportunistic. Enemies you hit take 15% more damage from all sources for 5 seconds. So every time I hit him with the Dread Edict, they get nerfed, which in a sense means 15% of their damage reduction, if you want to look at it that way, is taken away, or I buff everything around it 15% more damage. However you want to look at it, it's still the same thing. Basically, they take more damage than they should. So that's really, really good, because in a team situation, that is a big amount of damage for everybody, you know, especially your DPS builders. So yeah, total armor, and the crit chances, and obviously perfectly opportunistic. Now the backpack would be really good right here, because this is where I can get the double of my med kits bonus armor, so it could keep me a little more survivability long term. And then I will put unbreakable on, but you know, that's just what it is. But this is how I'm running it right now. Going into the 4-piece, so we are running the system corruption, which comes with 2-piece armor on kill. That pairs nicely with the mop, so that's 25%, so it's a quarter of my armor every time I kill somebody when I have the mop. 40% disrupt resistance, 40% pulse resistance. Super important right here, pulse. Hack step protocol replaces armor kits with an instant infinite use ability that is on a 20-second cooldown that repairs 20% armor, grants 50% bonus armor, and hides your nameplate for 5 seconds. This 50% will change to 100 if you have the backpack. But also, you can see right here, 20-second cooldown. Because I am running the chest, you can also see that it does give you a 5-second buff, so you get that little 15 seconds instead of waiting 20 seconds, which is super important. Every second counts in a gunfight. Increase total weapon damage by 1 per 5% bonus armor gain, up to 20%. So when you pop that, you do extra damage, you become dangerous. So obviously, it's super simple. On why I would run this, you get to synergize the unlimited med kit, which is quote-unquote bonus armor, with the healing of catharsis, the natural armor regen, and the Dread Edict bonus armor. So you running these 3 are in synergy. You know, you're able to, whenever you're low on health, you know, you can pop the system corruption. It'll give you a little bit of chunk of a heal. Catharsis will heal the rest, while Dread Edict will put bonus armor to protect these 2 doing their job to heal you. And then you just redo the cycle. So when Dread Edict is gone, you have catharsis healing. When catharsis is gone, you have this med kit popping. And when this med kit's gone, you have the edit, and it just infinitely changes between these 3, and it's actually cracked. So going into my mods, this is super important. I don't have a max pulse resistant mod, so obviously best in slot would be if I had a 10% right here, because that will give me 100% on the dot of pulse resistance. So I cannot be pulsed It's actually pretty nice, because that takes away a lot of damage from one of the strongest builds in the game, which is the closers, you know, and they can't see you. You pop a decoy, you pop something, and you're out of there. They can't do nothing. Also, you can see right here, if you go into the skills, I am running decoy right here. I've kind of switched to it lately. The other thing you would run is trap just to be a troll if you really want to make the build complete, where you can do some burst damage as well as get some fast stacks if people are running you down. It's really good to run. I'm probably gonna alternate after the nerf of trap between the shock trap and decoy. I want to be able to cut off areas if I'm getting chased during PvP, so the trap is really good to run, especially for this kind of setup, because sometimes you need to make space if you're in a bad situation due to lack of ammo, or just due to one of your loops being off, whatever the case may be. So that's super important. But yeah, that's pretty much the build in its entirety. I know it's pretty much a tank with a dread edict, but when you run it this way, if you try it out, I promise you, you're gonna beat a lot of builds if you play it correctly, because it does take a certain kind of play style, a certain kind of anticipation. You gotta kind of outplay timing. You spend a lot more worried about timing of things than your opponent, but I promise you, if you get the combo down, it is a 1-2 punch knockout, bro. I'm telling you. And you also can take a punch no matter what. People are going to be annoying. Teams are going to have to focus fire you forever in order to get you into a bad situation, even if you're phone, bro. I'm telling you. So it's been real. If y'all have any other questions about the build, let me know. This is pretty much as detailed as I'm going to get about it, only because like I don't know what's going to change with these upcoming patches, but I do see this being nerfed. It's just that simple. Whenever we make something tight, it gets nerfed, so that's just what it is. But I love y'all, appreciate y'all. If y'all like the build, drop a like for me, hit a subscribe. More creative builds, you know what I'm saying? I'm trying to stay away from that 1-2 punch, fox prayer, knee pads, and contractor glove, matador builds. I'm over them, so trying to do whatever we can to combat those, you feel me? So appreciate y'all. Thank y'all so much for watching. Your boy is out.